about resentment. It really just leads to far more.
But put into words, it is simple. In and out.
And somehow moved beyond the past and felt into the divine spirit.
Say a few words of welcome. Would you like to take the stage?
Patron of UPF. Because I was involved with them for quite some time, and I feel a lot of excellent work is being done. For the theme of forgiveness and reconciliation. It is not a new idea, because I think people have been talking about forgiveness, that people have to give and take, and believe in forgiveness, League of Nations, and that was followed by United Nations.
Thank you very much, Lord King. So we're going to, in fairly swift succession, have some offering from each of the...
Picture of the religions of the world are like a great river, and with different springs and sources flowing together. And certainly I felt. But I think one experience really made me aware just how vital forgiveness is, not only in our personal lives, but between communities. And she talked to me a bit about her experiences. And I was very aware when I was asked to preach at the District 6 in Cape Town, which, as you know, is a sort of isolated church in an area which was cleared under the Buvaxia Party, because Jesus forgave me. And I believe it's not only in our personal relationships, which we talked about this morning.
To the podium is Professor Nutabai Shah. He's the chair of the Jain Network and Jain Academy.
This place emphasis on the need for humans to practice forgiveness of one another. Jains are in the second category. Their souls are in total bliss and happiness. We are all worldly souls. And there is a clouding around their souls we call karma. This karma, people who hold resentment, they get blood pressure and so many other problems. Forgiveness and reconciliation help peace within the families, communities, a country and different countries.
Tend to remember our enemies more than our friends. The Buddha himself had his greatest enemy, whom he reconciled because that was his brother-in-law. Example, the cloud rains to each and everyone, north or south, east or west, friend or foe. In our Buddhist monastic training, we were told punishment in the best interest of the community, based on love and understanding of the criminal, not just the formal law. Punishment primary, so there was no cutting off of hands or feet or any execution. To turn them into worthy persons, as you do so, as regards
the overall aim for me of Judaism is to be at one with God. We have a day of fasting once a year called the Day of Atonement. Atonement means to me at one.
My first act of forgiveness today is towards the organizers who restricted each of us to 3 minutes only on such a beautiful subject. As Ruth said, this time last week, every Jew around the world was making final preparations for Yom Kippur. Every person over the age of 13 prayers for 25 hours. The word Kippur means from completion this month for 3 weeks, getting out of your
brothers and
sisters, as per the Sikh Dharma, forgiveness demands abundance of love and humility. One is forgiveness, of course, leads to reconciliation. Reconciliation is a beacon of hope and a healing balm. It is not the pursuit of the faint-hearted, damning greater than dividing. We may need to engage in wise counseling and humble coaxing.
وَاتَّبَعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا
I feel so privileged, honored to be one of you. To speak about forgiveness from an Islamic perspective, there are so many verses in the Quran that speak.
Feelings of resentment and anger and hatred and bearing grudges are really stopping us from progressing on in our lives. So many high statistics in crime and divorce and a lot of families breaking down. And mass communication has really made crime far more acceptable for young people. So my generation become better people in this life, so we're always going to make mistakes. So it's important that even though tomorrow I have to take responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. Now let's turn
of God, for she always forgives. Very often when I use the term she, people come and ask me, oh, their brothers. Here, forgetting what is behind and reaching out to what and who is in front of us is hitting the mark, reaching the goal of reconciliation. During my travels in Finnish Lapland, where during the war the Germans committed horrendous action, for me is forgiveness through understanding and the willingness to forget.
Thank you. On soul freedom therapy. Thank you. Please welcome.
And if I can just plant in you a seed of consciousness about forgiveness, this might help you to think about forgiveness in a different way. You only actually get sick and ill when your body's acidic, okay? So if your body's ancestors had a negative emotion that's manifested through the timeline of your ancestors into your existence now, and it's about forgiving in the now. And so really, we can't always forgive people's actions. This is what I've seen with many. This isn't about intellectualizing it, it's about actually being it. And because time doesn't exist, because time is man-made, you can actually make a difference now. And I can see you feel really uncomfortable doing this, but I'm going to stand here. Good afternoon. We are here to recite some verses of forgiveness and reconciliation from Genesis 6.
And as they continued to ask them, he stood up and said to them, "Let him who has looked up and said to her, 'Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?' She said, 'No one, Lord.' And Jesus said, 'Neither do I condemn
identity, so that we can stand in the position of bride and bridegroom and form a family centering upon our men. However, mankind cannot truly go back to God while standing in the same position from which they caused God sorrow. Therefore, we must perform
Forgiveness from the heart of resentment. It really just leads to far more.
The Jewish atonement, we have no heart.
And somehow moved